All right, everyone, we are a week away from training camp already. The time has flown by. We've broken down the Eagles' offense, we've broken down the defense for next season. Go check those videos out already if you haven't. Now, we're going to talk about the 5 most important Eagles players all around for the 2026-2027 that is getting closer and closer and closer. So let's hop straight into this. We're going to focus on 5 right here. I had a hard time choosing the 5th person. I think I have a reasonable argument that I can make. We'll get to honorable mentions when we get closer to the end, but at number 5, I went with Landon Dickerson. Now, again, I fiddled around with some other things here. Maybe, this is a little odd, right? Because it's a guard. Guard isn't like the world's most valuable position, but I would argue that Landon Dickerson, when healthy and at his best, is one of the 5 best guards in the NFL. I think he is an all-pro, Pro Bowl type of player. Unfortunately, last season, it was horrible. He was injured all season. He was injured coming into the season. He got new injuries during the season. He got injured in the NFC Championship and was playing hurt in the Super Bowl before that. But I think when you go back and watch the tape last year, especially in like the first half of it got worse as the season went on, but the first half of the season, Landon Dickerson was really, really bad. He was horrible. You go back and you watch the film, and what you see is Dickerson getting blown off the line literally instantly in the run game, getting thrown around, pass protection, getting destroyed. He was so bad, and this is somebody with such a high standard who had been an amazing player since he stepped on the field in 2021 to take over for Brandon Brooks. This is somebody that we just came to expect to be really good, and was just such an amazing player, 21, 22, 23, 24, that seeing the way he played last year, it was rough. Now, again, like I said with guard, it's hard to call this like the most important position on the field. And I don't want to point fingers at like just one person or this or that, right? Because obviously it's a team effort. But I figured with the offensive line, you could say Lane Johnson is more valuable and more important. And I would agree with you there, but Dickerson was just getting destroyed. When the entire like interior of your line is just getting crushed, you got to point fingers somewhere, right? Cam Jurgens I considered putting on here, but I mean, the Eagles won a Super Bowl with a center not playing at a high level. I'm sorry, Cam Jurgens at his best is like a good player. That's kind of it. An average center, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of him. I've never been a big fan of him. I didn't like him getting the contract extension. He can't play guard either. I really am not a fan of Cam Jurgens. I didn't want to put him on here because Dickerson, having that pedigree of playing at a very high level, and then seeing what he put up last year, again, when you watch the film, there's one person, well, there's two, there's Jurgens too, but I mean, there was one person who stuck out the most, and it was Dickerson just getting absolutely bullied and destroyed. And one of the other reasons I wanted to put him on here was earlier in the offseason, there was some talk of him potentially retiring. Obviously, that didn't happen. I can look his contract up on the side. I think there's a world where if he gets injured again and has, another one of these seasons where he's playing with with multiple injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if he hangs the cleats up after the season. So he is a free agent in 2028. So he has a couple more years left in Philadelphia. Obviously, we want him to be healthy and play through all these, but I mean, if he gets hurt again this year, or something like that happens, I don't think it's off the table for him to retire. So this is a big year. If he can come out and be healthy and be himself again in this system where they're going to be running the football a lot, where they're going to really need him to pull and get downfield and block and to be strong in pass protection, and he can go out there and be healthy and stay healthy, he's going to be an all-pro. Right, he's going to be a first or second team all-pro. He is one of the best in the game on the interior, but if it goes like it did last season, this could be one of his last years on the Eagles, and that's why I felt like it was more important to put him on here, right? Because there's that uncertainty with the future of his career, but I felt okay with putting him at 5. And then we get to 4. Again, maybe somebody that people would disagree with. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. Saquon, I don't need to sit here and tell you guys how good Saquon Barkley is, right? You guys know. The 2,000-yard season a couple seasons ago, 13 touchdowns, Offensive Player of the Year season. I'm not saying he has to be that. What I'm saying is, you're hoping the offensive line is healthy, and you are hoping that Saquon goes out there and puts up a 14, 15, 1,600-yard double-digit touchdown season, right? That's what you're hoping for, okay, out of Saquon Barkley. I think with the new system, this, McVay, Shanahan system, this is a system where running backs, number one, hammer the ball on the ground a lot, right? They're going to be committed to running the football. You have a lot of that. You do have a lot of opportunities for him also to be a receiver, right? Him catching some balls out of the backfield, him being an answer to pressures, stuff like that. I think, they've really underused running backs in this Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts era, whatever. Jalen was somebody who didn't like to throw checkdowns earlier in his career. He has changed on that a lot. It's still something that I would like to see him do more. And I think Barkley being an outlet in this offense is, very big, and he could put up a monster, season both ways, rushing and receiving. You do see a lot of backs. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey did it and continues to do it in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, but this is an offensive system that's going to feature your running back. Now, I'm not trying to sit here and say I thought Saquon was bad last year, because there are some people out there who weren't the biggest fans of what he did last year, but when you go back and watch the line, awful, just horrible, just Dickerson and Cam Jurgens getting molested, just blown off the ball. There are times where the ball was snapped and the other team's defensive tackle's in the backfield already. Okay, it was bad. It was bad. It was rough for that line. It was rough with the system. Everybody knew what was coming, inside zone. AJ Brown, deep ball, incomplete, punt, great stop defense. It literally became a meme. Okay, everybody knew what was coming, but if this team wants to be at its best and win another Super Bowl, it's with a big-time Saquon Barkley season, right? A big-time Barkley season adds on just so much extra pressure to an opposing defense, right? We hope to see the passing game look a lot better as well, but the run game with a Saquon Barkley that has a really good line in front of him and a good system, that's a dangerous player. I don't need to come on here and tell you guys how good Saquon Barkley is, okay? Because I think his play speaks for itself. Okay, you can pull up the clips and stuff, and you can watch how good this guy is. That's a huge part of this team. Okay, I don't think a 2,000-yard season is probably going to happen again, because that was a rare thing, and what he did was spectacular, and it was amazing, and, you know, we may not see another 2,000-yard season for God knows how long, right? It's not something that happens very often, but Saquon still can go out there, put up 1,500 yards, and be a monster, and that's what makes this team deadly at its best. When Saquon's going, when Jalen Hurts is going, when Devontae Smith is going, when everything is going to fire on all cylinders, and even going back to a couple years ago with A.J. Brown and all that stuff, when it's firing on all cylinders and Saquon Barkley is, you know, just destroying everything. I mean, look at this. 5.8 yards per carry in 2024. That is ridiculous. That's almost 6 yards. Handing him off the ball twice was over a first down. That's insane. On 345 carries too, he still put up 5.8 yards per carry. That's a first down and 2 carries. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So when you have something close to this, again, I think this is, you know, it's going to be very hard for anybody to put up 2,000 yards. It's not a slight against Saquon himself, but if you want this team to go out there and murder people on a weekly basis, Saquon Barkley is going to be a huge part of it, and I'm very, very excited to see what he's going to do, you know, in this system. I think the run game, it's going to look different. It's going to look better. Hopefully, we see another big-time Barkley season, because, whew, I mean, the ceiling on this team when 26 is at his best it's just on another level. It's on another level. Hand him off the ball, let him go to work. At 3, we have our first defensive player. You're going to notice there's a lot of offensive players on here, because I think, you know, I think it would be disingenuous to put somebody like, you know, Quinyon on here or Cooper DeJean, because I think we already know how good they are. They've been established. The defense on this team has been established. It's really the offense that has questions and needs guys to be these high level players. Like, you need Landon Dickerson to play at that all-pro level if you want to win a Super Bowl, right? You need Saquon Barkley to be a top 3 running back, top 5 running back, whatever, top 1 a couple of years ago to win a Super Bowl. So for the defense, I sat here and I was like, okay, who is one of the heartbeats of this defense that really needs to go out and have a big time year? And I think it's Jalen Carter. So we're going to put him here at number 3. I think this is as high as I want to go with him, again, or any defensive player. I think a lot of it too comes down to the contract situation. We talked about this a little bit a lot actually, in the breaking down the defense video that I did. But I think with Carter, you know, this is a big season for him. Coming out, being consistent, right? Staying out of the shenanigans and, you know, spitting on Dak, right? And doing stupid stuff like that, right? Cutting out the nonsense and being a dominant monster, because Jalen Carter can win you a game by himself, right? That's why I think he deserves to be on here. There's few defensive tackles in the NFL that move like him. There's few that generate the pass rush of Jalen Carter. There are few people in this league, when Carter is at his best, that are on that level, right? There's maybe a couple, okay? Going into year 4, this is big time for Carter. This is big time. This is somebody who has wrecked games, will continue to wreck games, in my opinion, and can really be the heartbeat of the defensive line. That's why I chose to put him on here. And yes, obviously the contract stuff. I do not want them to trade him. I do not expect them to trade him. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. There were the rumors of the Myles Garrett trade, and obviously the Eagles were in on it. Howie Roseman loves his defensive line. Okay, he's going to be all over something like that. And the Browns wanted Jalen Carter for Myles Garrett, and the Eagles said no. And I think they did the right thing. Call me insane, right? Call me insane. But I don't think trading a 25-year-old, at his best, superstar, one of the best at his position, an important position, I don't think it's smart trading Jalen Carter. I think he will be paid, and I really hope this is a season where he can go out there and just fully put it all together and fully demonstrate his dominance. At his best, he is a wrecking ball. Okay, I've said it a million times. His first step, it's so fast. It's ridiculous. He gets off blocks so fast. Some of these plays where he gets sacks or hurries or pressures, he is in the quarterback's face so fast. But there's also plays where he gets washed out of them. And he played last season with both shoulders injured, and he was still good. But he still had his moments where it's like, okay, well, I'm looking for a little bit more. I'm being greedy. I'm looking for that little bit more out of Carter. So I really think it's important for him to come out next year and just fully establish himself. Just have a freaking nut season. Okay? Go out there, destroy the NFL. Okay? Have an ungodly amount of pressures and hurries and all that. Get 7, 8, 9 sacks, I think is reasonable for him. I know sacks are weird with a Vic Fangio defense, right? They're a little weird. You don't really see one person outside of the outliers like Christian Wilkins or someone like that. You don't really see like one person go totally nuclear, right? It's usually spread out. Everyone gets their chances. Jalen Carter's going to naturally get a lot of attention, but there's also so much other talent on this line. Jordan Davis, Jonathan Grenard, Nolan Smith Jr., Jadlix Hunt. These are other guys that offenses have to respect and give attention to, and especially bringing Grenard, somebody who's a pressure monster, with Jalen Carter, who's also somebody that's a pressure monster. You're going to be under fire if Carter is at his best. So this is a big year for him. This is when he can go out, establish himself as a dominant player, and earn that contract extension, right? I'm really excited to see it. Cut out the nonsense, cut out the bullshit, just go out there, be the baby rhino, be the bread man, whatever you want to call him, and destroy everything in your path. And that's Jalen Carter at his absolute best. That lands him here at number 3. We're going to go to number 2. And I think it is Devontae Smith. I'm going to put Smitty here at number 2. Probably the person on the roster with the biggest step up, right? The most, second most. Obviously, you can probably already tell who number 1's going to be. Outside of that position, Devontae has taken on a lot of responsibility for next year. With the departure of AJ Clown, Devontae Smith is going to be the guy. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the first time since 2021 when he was a rookie. And then, you have to deal with the morons and the idiots that are like, oh, he couldn't break 1,000 yards the last time he was the wide receiver 1. He's going to suck. And it's like, okay, man, totally different scenario, totally different quarterback, totally different, okay? That Jalen Hurts in 2021 isn't a 2026 Jalen Hurts. That system isn't the same. Obviously, Devontae Smith himself has gotten better and played more in the NFL. I expect Devontae Smith to go out here by himself, last year with a god-awful offense, with Kevin Patullo's terrorism, with AJ Bitch crying and complaining on Twitter and going on live streams and talking about his fantasy and his year being a shit show and all this weird stuff and asking for a trade when the team was undefeated, with all that, with AJ Brown's bullshit and his diva and his crap gone, right? Even with all that happening, he still put up 1,000 yards. There was a point last season where Devontae was one of the leading receivers in the NFL and was on track for like 12, 13, 1,400 yards. Okay, when AJ had pretty much quit on the team. Right? This is somebody who is going to go out there, and I really do expect a 14, 15, 1,600 yard season, and that's going to be important, right? Because I don't even want to put this out there. I don't even want to say this, okay? But I'm just creating a hypothetical situation. If there is one where Devontae can't be a number one receiver, okay, and I don't think this is going to happen. Okay, don't come after me and, say this or that or the third and try to burn down my house for this. But if there's a world, okay, where he can't be a receiver one, this team's in some deep shit, okay? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, right? But obviously that is why I put him at 2. This is a big step up. This is, his Jackson Smith and Jigba moment, right? Losing that other person, right? Hogging up targets when they probably shouldn't, and crying and whining and complaining, right? With all that gone, I'm really expecting a monster season. I really am. I would love to see, something like 2022 on a different level. I would like to see over 100 receptions. Well, give me like $160, $170 on targets, please. 14, 1,500 yards, 10 plus touchdowns. I really think he can go out there and just be a monster like that. Continue to dominate on the outside. Continue to dominate pretty much in every part of the field, deep, underneath, over the middle. He can do everything. Devontae has been one of the best route runners in the NFL. I really think he can truly break out and blossom and show the NFL what he can do and the kind of talent that has been subsided. I think, some of these years, 22, 23, 24, even last year, you can argue Devontae is a top 12 to 15 receiver, even as a 2. I mean, I saw many people making the argument he was still a top 10 receiver in like 22, 23, even as a number 2. So I really think he can go out there and be a tier 1 receiver by himself. Now, obviously, this is all hinging on the offense working. We're going to get to that in a second because there's somebody else that controls the offense as well, right? That's, well, not controls it, but is a part of it and is going to be getting him the football. I really think with more targets, with more receptions, Devontae can be a monster. He really can. It's going to be a big time season for him. Obviously, I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about the honorable mentions. I considered putting Mekhi Lemon at 5. I think that's unfair to expect that much out of a rookie. But having somebody else on the other side of Devontae, well, Mekhi Lemon's more so going to play the slot, but having somebody else that can take a little bit of pressure off of him, right? And you have Dontavian Wicks as well. You have a very good receiver core if things work out, right? But again, there is, a world, let's say Devontae couldn't do it. Your passing game is going to fall apart. Okay, it's going to totally fall apart. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go out there, truly break out, and showcase the type of talent that had been in the shadow of somebody else. So, let's talk about some honorable mentions. Before we get to number 1, Cam Jurgens, considered putting him on here, as I talked about earlier. Dallas Goedert, I thought about it. I just feel like, other people probably make more of an impact, but I do think as a run blocker, it's very important to see Dallas Goedert go out there and be a really good run blocker again, because he was horrible last year. He was horrible. And there were times where they put him in some bad situations, but, Goddard has made his money and made his name in the NFL off being a two-way tight end. And I think, if you want to really have Goddard be an impactful, important player, he was great as a receiver last year and had all the touchdowns, but Jesus Christ, I need to see him block somebody. Okay, I need to see it. Again, I considered Lane Johnson, but I mean, we know what Lane Johnson is, right? I don't feel like I need to. Obviously, he's important. Okay, it's important for him to go out there and have a really good year, but I kind of already expect that, right? You know what I mean? Defensively, I mean, I thought about Jahad Campbell going into his second year, but I mean, you have Zach Bond, right, on the other side. And I don't think anybody else, again, defensively that I really needed to talk about. Jake Elliott. Maybe I could have put Jake Elliott at 5. Okay, Jake Elliott's going to be 6. Okay, he's going to be 5.1. Jake Elliott, last year was bad. The year before was bad. He's been declining as a kicker. Pretty much, I don't know what to say about Jake Elliott. Does it have any of his kicking things on here? Yeah, his accuracy was horrible last year. It was horrible. 4 of 8 from 50 plus. Just not very good last year. You really need him to go out there and be good again. He in 24 he missed a lot of extra kicks, and there were plenty of times last year where he was just flat out the worst kicker in the NFL. There were moments last year and the year before where it was like, okay, maybe we need to bring somebody else in. So, I mean, you could certainly make the case that he should be on here at like 5. I didn't really think about that until now, but let's get to number 1. I mean, you probably already figured it out. It's Jalen Hurts. He's playing the most important position, the most difficult position in American sports. Obviously, he was going to be number 1 on here no matter what, okay? You're bringing in a new system. You were bringing in a Jalen Hurts that I hope is angry, and I know is going to be angry because, I mean, no matter what he does, he's going to face the scrutiny and the disrespect. And I know last year, on paper, wasn't his finest work. Okay, I know there were rough games. I have been somebody who has defended Jalen Hurts pretty much since day one. I have watched an ungodly amount of Jalen Hurts. I've watched a lot of him, watched a lot of his tape. I've studied a lot of him. And I can confidently say that I believe he can make every throw in the field. I can confidently say that he can read a defense. I can confidently say that he's a very good runner of the football. And I think him being a dual threat gets undervalued now. I know they don't use him as much of a runner as they used to, like 2022, 760 rushing yards, last year 421, but I still think when he runs, he's very good at it, very impactful. You always have to respect the legs of Jalen Hurts. I think he's stepped up when it matters most. I think he's very accurate. I think he has all the intangibles. And I don't think there is anything that you can ask of him that he won't do. Now, does he have his limitations? Yes. You know, you can pull up some film and it's like, oh, here, he didn't hit a backside read. Okay, he's not Matthew Stafford, right? He's a different quarterback. Does he have the natural, ungodly arm talent of a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen? No. Can he still make every throw that you ask of him? Yes. Did the Eagles ask Jalen Hurts to be a magician? And did they put him in a system and have put him in multiple offenses? 21, 23, 25. That ask him to be a hero? That aren't quarterback friendly? Yes, they did do that. It was a miracle that he completed a pass last year. That system was horrible. Everything Kevin Patullo did was wrong. No ifs, ands, or buts. So we've seen Jalen Hurts with competent play calling. I wouldn't go as far as to say elite. 24. Okay, Kellen Moore was pretty good. I still don't know if he was the coordinator for Jalen Hurts. He didn't really have full control, but it worked. It worked. I didn't think it was elite all the time, but I thought when it mattered most at the end of the season, and obviously a lot of that is on Hurts, putting up, his second historical Super Bowl performance after he put up his first historical one, 2 years before that, right? I mean, how many other teams can say that they're going to trot out a quarterback who has a Super Bowl MVP and has put up two of the best, flat out best? Even if you are Jalen Hurts' number one hater, you cannot deny the objective fact that this man has went out there, won a Super Bowl MVP, and put up two of the best performances in the Super Bowl we've ever seen. You can't deny it. You can't do it. You can't do it. Even if you're a natural-born hater, you can't do it. You can't do it. You go back to 2023, horrible play calling. I would argue. Was Brian Johnson worse than Patullo? I think Brian Johnson had his... I think Patullo was worse. I think he had his moments. 21 with Sirianni in the first half of the season was horrible. I think 22, Shane Steichen was very good. I think he understood Jalen Hurts. I didn't like the obsessant use of RPOs, and I thought some of the situational play calling with Steichen would get a little old and a little bland. I thought sometimes it would get a little predictable, but the 22 Eagles are one of the best offenses they've ever put out there, and it was Jalen Hurts' best work ever, okay? But those times are behind us. This is a different system. This is something completely new with Sean Mannion. Jalen Hurts hasn't ran a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan offense. And if you're not too familiar with what that looks like, it's a quarterback-friendly offense. It's one that doesn't ask your quarterback to constantly be a hero and make super tight throws and super difficult throws all the time. Because, you look at, who makes the most difficult throws. Jalen Hurts is usually at the top of a lot of those lists. This is going to be an offense that goes under center, that runs the football a lot, that runs a lot of play action, and Jalen Hurts is very good off play action, something the Eagles, again, with a lot of other idiots on here, and even with some very good play calling, right, still haven't used a lot of with that play action, going under center, running under center play action. These are things that Jalen Hurts is very good at that he just wasn't allowed to do. Controlling the line of scrimmage, he was very good at that in 2024. Very, very good at being a field general. He gets no credit whatsoever from any haters, any members of the media, none of them. He was fantastic in 2024, calling protections, changing things at the line, changing plays, getting into plays, right? Finding what's going to work against the defense that he sees pre-snap. Fantastic at that in 2024 and got no credit for it. So guess what? He's going to get the control of that back. Okay, hopefully. I do expect him to get that control back. This is going to be an offense that is just way more QB friendly, and I really hope to see them throw over the middle a lot more. And if you want to try and do this, he can't throw over the middle thing. Does he at times show a hesitancy to do it? Yes. Because guess what? That's where turnovers happen, and he does not like to turn the football over. Is that a problem he has? Yes. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's perfect, okay? Because that is a problem. And that's going to have to go away. It's going to have to go away. And I've seen him make the throws over the middle. Here's from January. Okay. Brandon Deeg on Twitter. Jalen Hurts, when targeting crossing routes, this is just 2025. 32 of 38, the second highest completion percentage among quarterbacks, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, 129.1 passer rating. The Eagles ran crossing routes at the third lowest rate in the NFL. I mean, you know, the he can't throw over the middle thing is a pretty bad argument. He has been in offenses where they target outside the numbers a lot more at a higher rate with the A.J. Brown deep balls and all that crap. Guess what? That's done. That's gone. No more diva ball. You know, AJ's one-on-one. I have to get him the ball or he's going to go cry and bitch and whine on Twitter after the game and make cryptic Instagram posts using me but not using me after I put up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's gone. All that's gone. You're going to have Mekhi Lemon over the middle of the field. I think he's going to be open a lot. Okay, I think Mekhi Lemon is somebody who's going to do some significant amounts of damage over the middle of an NFL football field. It's going to be there. It's up to Hurts to target it. That's a big part of this offense. Maybe the interceptions go up. Because if you look at Jalen Hurts' career on interceptions, I mean, 9, 6, you had the 15 in 2023. Most of these were bullshit. Some of these were targeting the middle of the field, and he put up almost 4,000 yards, okay, with an offense that totally fell apart and couldn't stop a blitz. 5 interceptions and 6 interceptions. I mean, if you target the middle of the field, it's more crowded. You're going to have balls that get popped up in the air. You know, I mean, if you want to pull that Chargers game up from last year, there's a certain somebody with alligator arms that was popping some balls up in the air that got turned over. But this is, you know, going to be that next evolution of Jalen Hurts as a passer. And I think he can do it. I've watched him do it. I can pull up clips of him doing it. You can find it when he's playing. It's there. It's doing it on a more consistent basis and an offense that's going to feature it. We have some fresh propaganda here from PFF. This was, you know, a month ago. Jalen Hurts on deep throws since 2022. 3,400 passing yards, which is 4th in the NFL. 39 touchdowns, which is 1st. 77 big-time throws, which is 5th. I'm going to assume this is just regular season. Obviously, playoffs, you know, he lets that thing fly. So, what have we established here? Well, we've established that he can throw over the middle, and we can establish that he can throw deep. You know, I think that's a pretty good quarterback, okay? Obviously, it's the most important position on the field. I do really expect Jalen Hurts to go out and have a monster season. Okay. I think he can put up 4,200 yards, you know, 30 plus touchdowns. The picks are going to go up. If everything works out the way we want it to, the picks are going up. I'm sorry. He might throw freaking 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't care. If I watch him mature and grow as a passer over the middle, I don't care if a ball gets bounced up and a linebacker gets it. I don't care if you know, corner jumps a route, okay? I'm not going to sit here and demonize him for stuff like that. But I want to watch him grow and continue to grow as a passer because he's grown every single year. I want to see him put up 500, 600 yards on the ground. You know, have another year where he has double-digit rushing touchdowns. I think it's obviously a lot of that's tush pushes, but still, regardless. Obviously, it's important for him to go out, have a big-time season. And I really do see that because, again, same thing I said with Devontae Smith. I don't want this to happen, but if there's a world where this doesn't work with Sean Mannion, and it collapses and falls apart, we're going to start asking a lot of questions about a lot of people on this offensive staff and a lot of players on this offensive staff on if they can do it. Right? If they can go out and put out a competent offense again. I think they will. But again, if that doesn't happen, you're going to have another last year. And it was ugly. And we don't want that. Okay, I don't need to sit here and tell you that, but those are the 5 most Eagles. Oh my god, 5 most important Eagles. I'm sorry, it's 2 a.m. I got off work 2 hours ago. I'm here grinding out content. I can't think, but let me know, who do you think is the most important Eagle next year? Do you have a different top 5? Do you have somebody that should be in there that I did not mention? Let me know all that down below in the comment section. Let me out. Hit that like button for me, the sub button, the post notifications. Love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.